Welcome back to my channel. I am Light Bright, and today we are going to be talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty. Now these will be opinions, predictions, and whether I'm Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah. So let's go. Side note, this video is mostly for people who have seen the show and read the book or audiobook, but if you want to watch along and you haven't seen either, that's fine too, but I'll link the audiobook down below. This summer I gave a rant and a summary of episode 1. So the show first starts out where Belly is in her room packing for cousins in the summer house with Taylor, her best friend. They're talking about parties, random stuff, and how she's growing up and this and that, chilling before it's time to leave. They get in the car. It's Belly's mom, Laurel, her, and Steven, her brother. And they're on their way to cousins, and they stop at the gas station. And this is one of the first instances where we kind of grasp that she's grown up. So they're like in the store and, you know, buying things, Belly being her silly stuff, stealing Cheetos. I don't know why she's doing that. She's about to go to jail before she gets to cousins, and she's not gonna have a summer, but you know, we let it slide. And this clerk at the store, he's like eyeing her and looking at her, and that's like one of the first moments that we notice that she's kind of changed. So the store clerk, despite her stealing, which low-key could be a sign of pretty privilege, which again feeds into the fact that we're noticing that she's gotten prettier, as the show states in the title, and it just displays overall. He invites her to this party. I don't even remember if he knows her age or not. I think Laurel cuts in and says she's too young or something. Who knows? Who cares? The point is she's invited to this party. We really don't think about it at all, like until later in the show or in the episode, but they drive to the summer house. Everyone gets out the car. They're happy to see Steven and Laurel. They're hugging. When Jeremiah sees Belly, he's all excited and stuff. Like, to me, it gave cousin vibes. Like, they were relatives, which of course they're close. But if you know what he said later at that pool or in the book, then you're going to realize, like, it didn't really give that, unless he's good at hiding that. But Conrad, he's looking at her, and he sees her, and he's like, you look better with glasses on. He said she looked better with glasses on, and it really, okay, it was two things for me. I noticed two things when I rewatched the episode. One, like this is option A, he could have liked her like in general, not like a friend, but he liked her with glasses. So he didn't only like her when she got pretty, like he didn't notice her only when she got pretty, he did notice her. And from the flashbacks, it kind of seems like that, but you know, we don't know for sure. And B, when she had glasses on, he didn't think people saw her how he did, / there was no competition, and now there might be. But you know, this is Conrad, so we really will never know. And after that happens, they do their first belly flop of the summer. Everybody's like, I think it's time for a belly flop. They grab Belly, or they chase her to the backyard, and then they grab her by her hands and her ankles, and they throw her into the pool. Now, when they throw her into the pool, this scene was kind of weird to me. Like, of course they're being kids and all that, throwing each other into the pool. They do this every summer. This is the annual belly flop, mind you, not just any belly flop, the annual one. So they do this every summer. I don't know if it's the first day in the house or just every summer at least once, but you know, it's annual. What happened was, after they threw her in the pool, Belly reached her hand out to get helped out, and Conrad reaches for it, and she pulls him in. But he seems kind of mad, like he seems angry. And he dunks her under the water or something, and she like sourly spits, let go. And I was like, ooh. Like watching it, it wasn't secondhand embarrassment. It was like, is somebody mad? Like it was like confusion. So that happened. And sometime in between that, sometime after that, like once everyone's a little bit settled in, Laurel and Beck go into town to the bookstore. And it was something like, not a book tour, but they were having like a something where Laurel, because she's an author, she had like some books coming into the store to sell. I think it was like a meet and greet or some type of thing. And Laurel picks up this book, reads the name Cleveland Castillo as the author, and starts talking mad stuff about him. Like, oh, he probably got this type of glasses and this and this. And he's standing right there listening to her. Like, he was pacing around in the back of the store. But when she had said all that, he just walked up and just was like, yeah, and was talking to her like regular, and she was just in shock. Like, they had just cut into these bookstore owners and all that. So, back at the house later that night for dinner, they had dropped the bomb that Con had quit football, and I think that's I think that's a sign of him struggling. Like, well, not struggling. I don't know if it's struggling or self-growth, because later, when they all had headed to that party, Beck and Laurel were puff and passing on the back porch or down by that dock. And Beck had told everyone, or just told Laurel, but we all figured out, that, what's his name? Conrad's dad is the one who had pressed him to play football, so he really could have quit for himself and to stop following what his dad wants. And I hope it's self-growth, because I'm happy for him. But if he quit and he actually enjoyed it more, well, not more, but if he actually enjoyed it a little bit rather than just trying to make his dad happy, then I don't know, I kind of hope for the best. I don't know why, I kind of hoped throughout the show and the book that he might reconsider football, but you know, if he's happier without it, so be it. This summer I compared the book to the show. Okay, now we're into the book to show. Now, this is where I point out a couple things that I've noticed throughout the book or in the show and how they were addressed differently. Okay, the first thing I noticed is the book had so many flashbacks. Well, at least to me, I don't know. But I know in the show, if you see too many flashbacks and you're interested in the main plot, you're not exactly going to like that. And I wouldn't either, because I like the main plot of the show. The flashbacks are cute and all, but they're not my favorite part of the show. So I'm glad the show doesn't have that many flashbacks, but the book had so many that I did not know how old Belly was throughout half of the series. And I listened to the whole audiobook, like all 3 books. I didn't know how old she was for half of it. Another thing I noticed is the show is mostly Summer House, and the book has more than that. Like, to me, the show seems very introverted. Like, it seems like the family is all that we're thinking about, and even then, only some of the family, because the dads aren't part of it. Like, the Summer House is really a secret and private thing, and the show gives off that same vibe. Like, the majestic and beautiful scenery of the summer house and the beach house and all that, it's this kind of broad area or broad setting. Like, it's big. There's so many places that they have, but at the same time, it still feels small. Like, the show feels like it's open but closed off at the same time, and that's what the family seems like. It seems like it's kind of open. Like in the books, they show a lot of other scenes than just the summer house, but it's still closed off, as in, like, it still feels kind of centered around the main cast. No matter how many characters they talk about, it still seems like it's just about them. And I like that. In the book, we get backstory on Belly's stuffed animal that lives at the summer house, Junior Mint. Junior Mint is a polar bear with a scarf, and he sits on her dresser in the show. But in the book, we got a whole elaborate backstory, and I think that was one of the most memorable things in the book to me. Like, I remember that scene almost vividly. Like, it's at the front of my mind, actually, when I think about this series. I don't know why, but there's so many things in the book, like book flashbacks, that I would love to see them pull into the show, like that one. Like, I really want to see that Junior Mint scene played out on the boardwalk. Another kind of memorable scene for me is at the party when Cam and Belly were walking out, and randomly, like in the show, this seemed very random. I think in the book, it made more sense, but in the show, it was so random, and I was like, okay. But they were walking off the porch, and Cam was like, hey, if you don't mind me asking, do you like Jeremiah? And she was like, do you mean Conrad? What are you talking about? She was like, oh, do you mean this person? Like, that's not gonna help you. Like, plead the fifth or something. Girl, you just sat here and outed yourself. But the comparison I was gonna make, not just from the book to the shelf in that aspect, is the fact that I'm quite sure, please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm quite sure that in the book, Cam had asked if she liked Conrad. Like, I don't know, I think I remember it being switched. I don't want to read it all over again. So if that was right, if that was wrong, let me know. This summer, I gave my opinion. This section is going to be on my opinions on the show. Okay, first off, let's start with the music. So the choices of music. I love that this show seems like a, it's a Taylor Swift girly show, of course. And am I a Taylor Swift girly? No. Do I appreciate her, though? Absolutely. I don't know enough Taylor Swift songs to go to a concert, but the songs that I do like, I like, it's just good. But yeah, this show gives Taylor Swift, Daylight by David Kushner, Reflections by The Neighborhood, and some parts of the show gave City Girls, and I was so confused. Like, at least one song I know from each of those artists, so I love all of those vibes. But it was just like, the show felt really Taylor Swift, and then in the party scenes it gave City Girls. And of course they're teens, specifically in our day. This show is kind of modern, even though the books came out when I was a kid. So that's interesting. I think that flew over a lot of people's heads. Probably not too many, but the fact that the show gives 2022 and the books came out in like early 2010s type of thing, I don't remember exactly, is very interesting. But I don't care. It was just something that I pointed out. But yeah, the switch from like the Taylor Swift music to the random Cardi B Up, it kind of threw me off. Like, I wasn't mad at it because I didn't hate any of the songs in the show, but it was just kind of interesting. My next opinion is there should be more flashbacks with Susanna, Laurel, and the husbands. I know I've been calling Susanna Beck. I keep using nicknames for these characters, and I'm trying to make it to where anyone who doesn't know any of these people will be able to follow along. Susanna is Beck, for those who don't know. Laurel calls Susanna Beck, and she calls the summer house Beck House. So, you know, or I'm pretty sure that's how that goes. Someone mentions it. Anyways, I want more flashbacks between Laurel and Beck because I want to see their dynamic. Like, I see it already in the show, but I'm just curious as to what it looked like when they were younger. And most of the flashbacks are centered around the kids. So I also want to know how the husbands came into their lives, you know, because they talk about, I don't know if it was I'm pretty sure it was in the show rather than in the books. I don't know for sure, but they talk about how they switched husbands or something. Like, one of them was like, oh yeah, he's better for you. I think it was Laurel said Beck's husband was better for her. And I kind of want to see how that happened in flashbacks. Another one is Conrad is not as complex and mysterious as we make him out to be. I feel like he's just hurt, or he's just trying to grow. And the other characters are just overly translucent. They're kind of predictable, they're translucent and all of that. Sometimes they can do annoying things. I'm speaking from my knowledge from the books and the show. They've done annoying things, but Conrad is just not as translucent, and it comes off as mysterious just because of the people he's around. Now, if you watch the show, everybody knows the scene I'm talking about where they're at the pool playing and Nicole gets hit in the face with a ball. And I want to say everyone feels this way, but I'm not going to. But Nicole overreacted. Belly was being a people pleaser. And Taylor wasn't wrong. It was just unnecessary for all that to even happen. Editing me here. So what I mean unnecessary is unnecessary for the plot. Like, the people didn't have to have that little... The characters made it more than what it was. They blew it out of proportion. Now, it was necessary, I guess, for the directors. Like, I'm not saying they're doing too much, but it was just like, it did nothing to the plot. But later, I'm going to mention something about, I don't know why I didn't like them. It's not something that they did. It's just they did too much, and I don't understand why they didn't like Belly and Taylor. It was so weird to me. Like, I don't know. It seems like Belly was being overly nice to Nicole. I don't know if it's because she saw her with Conrad and felt the need to impress Conrad by being nice and good to her, or she was embarrassed or something. Like, I don't know. But in the end, Nicole ended up doing her dirty. Like, they all did, which was weird. I don't even remember why. Like, what? And I don't like Nicole. I don't like half of the people. That day where Belly and Taylor had went and they had did that dare because they all went on the yacht. They did that dare at the lake and ended up getting stranded. I don't like any of them. Like, I don't think I liked them from the start. Except for Shayla, and even then I kind of didn't like her. My last opinion, for now, is I hate the way that they always tell Belly to grow up and end up sounding so hypocritical. Let me explain. So they'll always tell Belly to grow up, and then they'll do something equally as childish or even more childish than her. Oh my god. And then the way that they always left her out. We're not talking about that though, because that's part of the story. Like, that's one of the main things. The boys always leave her out. But let me explain. The fireworks, Jeremiah shooting fireworks at Belly and Conrad. Yeah, I liked that scene. Like, it had me hype, but that was childish. Following Belly to her first date. Conrad initiated that. And Steven, Mr. Follower, Mr. Can't Think for Himself, he was like, you're the one who told us to do it. They never include her, like I said. That's kind of childish. I know they want their time, but ever? Because in the books, they didn't include her a lot more. Picking on Cam. Okay, they pick on Cam a little bit. Like, I would let it slide a little bit. But two of them like her. Let me elaborate real quick. So I know that's Jeremiah's personality, and it was Jeremiah and Steven who were doing that to Belly and Cam at the dinner table, but that is still kind of childish. Like, and I realized Conrad wasn't doing it, but it's still kind of childish. Like, it's hypocritical. This summer, I saw other creative opportunities. This section is on paths the show could take. Now, not all of them will be good, not all of them will be bad, but you know, they would be interesting. So, the first way, of course, it follows the books exactly. Most fans will want the favorite book to be put on screen, you know, and just to see all the scenes played out. And, you know, save the creativity for Wattpad, AO3, maybe even TikTok opinions or something. I don't know, like, or these opinion videos. But they would like it to play how the books do, almost exactly. Now, the other way is it half follows the books. So the plot stays the same, but we aren't limited to the pages, and there are scenes that can be added or taken in more creative routes that we wouldn't see anywhere on the books, basically. Like, they add their own input, they kind of listen to the fans, which that could go horribly wrong. Like, don't get me wrong, listening to the fans could completely ruin the vibe of the show, so ignoring the fans sometimes is not a bad thing. But if they do take creative input and some things that the fans say into account, that's what I mean. And the last one is, it doesn't really follow the books. Spoiler, in the books, Belly ends up with Conrad, like at the very last second. Now, if they don't follow the books, what I mean is, for example, that could change and she could end up with Cam, or she could end up with Jeremiah, or just anything like that. And the fans wouldn't be happy about that, but I'm not saying that's what they change if they choose not to follow the books or at all or as much. They could change anything, but these are the different ways. Like, they could either follow the books 100%, they could half follow it and put their own creative input and like new scenes, new ideas, all of that we don't see in the books, or they could not follow the books and choose a different route. Since the books follow this path, they can experiment with another path completely. And me personally, I kind of like option 3, even though I've become a fan of the books and the movies, and the show. I kind of like option 3 because we already see how it plays out in the books, and option 3 could give a chance for like new opportunities. It's not my favorite option, but I do want to point out that I kind of like it. Editing me again, and this is not to say that they don't already follow these paths. It's just that they continue to follow these. This summer, I chose Team Jeremiah or Team Conrad. So, in short, when I watched the show, because I watched the show before I listened to the audiobooks, I was Team Jeremiah, and I still, if you ask me, I might say that. But for Belly, I think I'm Team Conrad. So, what I mean is, Jeremiah is cool and all. Her and Conrad seem right. I know how with some, whether it's a show, a movie, or a book, they will like force you to think that this combination is correct just because the main character is thinking about them all day or all of their life, or just really want it really bad. But just because you want it really bad doesn't mean that it's good for you. And I'm not saying Con isn't good for her, and I'm not saying Jer isn't good for her. I'm just saying, like, it could sound like I'm choosing Con just because she's been talking about him all her life. But that, believe it or not, that annoyed me. And I still think Con is kind of for her. So, Jeremiah, he mentions that, Belly, I've liked you this whole time. Con is just now noticing you with this, and that. And I don't think that's true. So if we go back to the fact that Con had said that comment about Belly's glasses, and I had elaborated on that, that kind of showed me that I don't think that's true. Like, I was leaning towards the Con said that out of, like, not wanting Belly to be noticed more by people. Or maybe he's starting to realize, well, he can't gatekeep her anymore, in short. So, and then the flashbacks in the show, it seemed like Con really went out of his way to, like, explain things and to help her sometimes. And I was cool with that because it seemed like whenever the dudes were, like, leaving her out, like that scene where they were tossing the muffin around and he had gave it to her, it seemed like sometimes whenever she was really, like, being picked on, he would kind of step in and help her and all of that. But when I made this choice, it wasn't, oh, she had better scenes with Con or she had better scenes with Jer. No, it was more of like a what feels right, like an intuition type of thing. But still, Jer didn't really give any of those scenes. Like, the only scene that I could say is memorable of Jer and Belly is the pool scene. Like, I'm talking about from the show and the books, the only really memorable scene would be the pool scene and the fireworks scene. And that's it. Like, I can't even say he's been hinting at it this whole time. Like, I really could not tell until he pointed it out. And I was like, maybe he's just good at hiding it, or maybe he just, because most people, when they have a strong feeling, you can't hide it. So how strong was Jared's feeling in the first place? Which I know he gets to a point in the books, like that car scene when they're around like that college age, looking for Conrad and all that. Like, they had their moments in the books, but it kind of seemed like thrown out there. Like, if they didn't come out and say that Jared actually liked Billy, I wouldn't have known. And I know it sounds weird, like saying, if they wouldn't have came out and said it, then I wouldn't have known. But books are really a show, don't tell type of thing. A lot of books use show, don't tell in their writing style. So with Conrad, you can show it. With Jeremiah, you had to tell it. Like, that's how I'm saying it. With Jeremiah, I didn't know until he said something. With Conrad, I knew the whole time. You didn't have to say anything. So that's how I took it. And in short, I kind of was Team Jeremiah. But that's because I watched the show first. And then I listened to the audiobook. So then I was like, okay, wait a minute. Maybe she should be with Conrad. And maybe that's that. But who knows? It might change. I might lean towards one side more than the other. Let's see in season 2. That's coming out July 14th. Editing me here for the last time. If you hear any awkward cuts, it's because I'm trying to cut out all of the times I say like. Because it's annoying me, and I know it might annoy you. So, sorry. That's it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and make sure that the notification bell lights up.